Let's move to the next discussion. There is a ray of hope for a lasting solution to the prolonged strike that crippled public universities in Nigeria. The federal government has approved 470 billion naira special fund in the 2023 budget for university revitalization and upward review of lecturer salary. According to the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, a breakdown of the funds show that 300 billion naira is for university revitalization, while 170 billion naira is for an upward review of university lecturer salary. Bikil, is there anything to cheer about in this situation?
Yeah, I think that it is significant in a way when people protest, when people go on strike to draw the attention of government to things that government needs to do. One way to engender industrial harmony is to not simply dismiss the demands of the workers who have gone on strike. You've got to take a look at their demands and see what you can do immediately to meet those demands. Where you are not capable of meeting all the demands, you have to sit with the people and let them realize that, look, given the current realities on ground, this and this and this we cannot do for now. That all along was what we asked the government to do, instead of allowing the students to sit at home for that long. Now, one of the most important demands, because this last strike of ASU was based on two main demands. In fact, they said, look, if you can meet two of those demands, we'll go back home. We'll go back to
the
work.
classes.
Replacement of IPPIS with UTAS and the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement. Of course, we have the Revitalization Fund, 1.2 trillion. That has always featured in most of the disagreements that ASU has had with government. Yes, the Buhari administration didn't sign that deal. That deal was signed by the Yaradua administration. I see people on social media everywhere mentioning Jonathan. You call something 2009 agreement. You are still saying Jonathan. Did Jonathan get into office as early as 2009? Well, that's by the way. Government is a continuum. Yaradua signed that agreement because he felt it was going to help the public university system. You know, and don't forget, Yaradua used to be a university lecturer, so he must have seen some of those things that needed to change. So, from 1.2 trillion, President Jonathan paid 200 billion into the fund. Buhari also chipped in. Now we have 880 billion left out of 1.2 trillion. The government has now said, okay, in the 2023 budget, we are releasing 300 billion for revitalization of infrastructure in the universities. So the incoming administration will inherit 580 billion. Look, if they had been doing this over time, we've had how many budget cycles under this administration? How many budget cycles did we have under Jonathan? Jonathan was president for 6 years. If they had incrementally been paying some money into that revitalization fund, honestly, we won't have the problem that we have today. And all the noise about, agreements that cannot be implemented. There's nothing that ASU asks for that cannot be implemented. As we have seen, all you need to do is make the money available on a gradual basis. Nobody said bring all the money in one day. That's not practicable. So now the incoming administration will have 580 billion from 1.2 that we started with. So gradually all of that money will be released, and then the issue of the welfare of ASU members. Remember, even the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement was meant to look at the wages of the academic staff and see what they can do to improve their welfare. So now government is setting aside 170 billion to take care of to increase for upward review, as the minister said, upward review of the salaries of the academic staff of university. So you cannot say, I hear people say, oh, what did they gain from the strike?
All right.
You cannot say that nothing has been gained, because a listening government that has now chosen not to simply listen to hawks, both in government and outside, has now decided that, okay, the issue of their salary needs to be addressed. We are releasing 170 billion for upward review of workers, of university academic staff salary. So that is good. You signed an agreement in 2009. A lot of them have not seen their salary increase for many years. Everyone wants his welfare to be taken care of as a worker. And so this is the demand that they've made, and government has responded in a good way to it. I know that this is a season of paucity of funds, but the government has to be commended that it has brought out 470 billion that will be inserted in this budget to address the demands of ASU. So a government that has done that has to be commended. And it shows that the labor and the months that these people have been at home was not in vain. There's no one that can validly argue that the strike was a waste. No, except someone who does not know what he's saying.
All right, Paul Dada, while we commend this impressive act, we understand that poor funding has been a major challenge in Nigeria's education system. Could the government have done better? Because 580 billion is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it's not even what they're asking for. I read, I read it and I laughed. Someone I read a certain doctor said, he was talking about the 1 trillion, the 1.2 trillion, that in fact, that it should be upgraded to 5 trillion. I just laughed. I said, in this economy, what are you talking about? Yes, we could have done better, like BKO said, if government had shown commitment to this agreement, we will not be where we are today. But then, again, ASU is sensible. Everybody, even your child in the secondary school, knows that all is not well with Nigeria economically. We all know what is happening. We know about it. We follow it, and we are all even feeling it's biting all of us hard. So it's a good thing. For me, it even works better than an order by a court. If the court says they should go, they should resume, and they resume grudgingly. If you work grudgingly, how will you have a very good output? You will have good output. And then again, another thing is the academic sector. A lot of lecturers have exited the academia because they are not encouraged. We have a situation where maybe one school start holder who became a councillor or has one political position, earning and faring better than a lecturer and a professor. That is not right. So it's a good thing, though it's come belatedly, but we must welcome it, and we're happy about it.
All right, gentlemen. BKO, 2.05 trillion naira has been allocated to education in the 2023 budget, comparatively to how much is allocated in the 2022 budget, and that is 923.79 billion naira from last year. How much of impact would this have on the system?
I think that we need to do our best. We should take education more seriously. I know that we have all kinds of challenges, but the funding of education has to be better. It is even made worse now that we are setting up all kinds of schools. The funding, we are not thinking about the funding, we are just being political. We are setting up universities here and there that we can't find the money to fund. And we are not meeting the UNESCO threshold. We should be able to set aside at least 15% of our budget for education, devote at least 15 to 20% of our budget to education and funding of research in our universities. Get those universities up and running again and make them the real centers of excellence that they were meant to be, you know? But these days, you go to our university, how many white people, how many foreigners can you see? In the past, they were here. That's why some of us support the idea of bringing the peculiarities of UTAS to IPPIS. People just need to be reasonable. You can't have a situation in which some of the academics that used to come down to Nigeria to become research fellows in our universities can't come because they can't be captured in IPPIS. And our own lecturers should also be able to move from university to university. That's the way it's always been. People who pass through university, our leaders who pass through university, they cannot claim that they don't know. Some of them must have been taught by foreigners. So they can't claim that they don't know. You can't now come now, now that you are at the other end, now attempt to disrupt the entire system, make it completely different to what you enjoyed back in your day in school. So this is the situation. Fund the universities sufficiently, fund education generally sufficiently. Why do we have a situation in which even some of this, if we go to some of our schools where we graduated, you feel like shedding tears. A governor once told me that he went to Barewa College and when he saw students hanging by the window to receive instruction, he burst into tears because they were taught by white people in the 60s. White people.
And they enjoyed better
They enjoyed
infrastructure.
education. They enjoyed the quality of instruction. You know? But today, we are just allowing those schools to wither. You know, they are now a pale shadow of what they used to be. How can some people be happy that that is what is going on? Universities that made them who they are today, they are happy to see them rotting away while going to build new ones that you can't fund. You have just 3 or 4 or 5 buildings in a university and you call it a federal university. One senior person in the House of Reps said, Jide, thanks. You did that. When you were talking yesterday, I was praying that you will not mention one in my town. I said, okay. You have even reminded me.
He was praying you would not mention it.
He was praying.
But it would have been better for you to mention it.
Oh, you see, they are all to blame. Politicians who see setting up new universities as a community project, they don't know what they are doing. They don't know what they are doing. At the end, when you can't fund, I'm telling you, state universities, all of them, they are taking money from TED Fund. They are going to take money from TED Fund. TED Fund is helping state universities to build infrastructure. Why should the system allow that? If you are a state, you think you have sufficient money to start a new university, you should fund that university for at least 10 years before you can seek help from a federal agency. TED Fund is a product of ASU strike.
Right,
today,
gentlemen,
you are saying that some of those schools should not join ASU strike, but they are enjoying TED Fund that ASU fought for. Isn't that an irony?